Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a little more serious, as it's titled Why I Don't Have a Last Name. So jumping right into it, a few months ago at work we were having like a little diversity thing situation, and so we all broke into groups and we decided to talk about, well, the prompt from our big boss was talk about the origins of your first name. And so in my group we talked about it, but then there was still more time, and so someone brought up, oh, let's talk about the origins of our last name. And so everyone was going around and telling these fun stories about where their last name came from, blah blah blah. And so then someone was like, Rebecca, so what about your last name? And I was like, oh right, me. And I was like, well, my last name, I blurted it out. I was like, it came from slavery. That's literally the only thing I can say. I don't have anything else. I don't have any fun story, but my grandfather was this person who did this and this and this, like that. I literally was just like, it's the slave master's last name, I'm sure, and that's how I have it. And so because things are awkward, everyone was like, oh shit, you're right, we didn't even think about that, we didn't even, because everyone was sharing, and like I was like the one black person. And so yeah, they were just like, wow. And so I felt like I had to make them comfortable with, maybe I didn't, but I felt like I had to be like, well, my name actually was supposed to be this, but then it's this, and this is how that happened. Like, give them a little bit of a history of my family. But in the grand sense, even then, that other last name was also a slave name. So I was just like, I just don't have a last name. And afterwards, and we think like, damn, like I really don't know my origins. Like, and that's why I did the DNA test and things like that, because I wanted to know something, but even that is not enough. I still don't know like the tribes. I don't know, I just don't know anything. And like that really hurts me to not have the same things that people have to trace their origins. Like, when someone has like an Irish last name and they're Irish and they can trace their ancestry all the way back to Ireland, and they know who their like third great grandparent was and all those kinds of things. And it's just like, I don't know any of that. Like, I can get as far as my mom and dad's like great grandparents, and then it like stops. I don't know, if my last name is currently, my last name was a slave master's name that my family was associated with. Like, I don't know those things, and there's like no record of that. And I think that that leads to a bigger issue of African Americans feeling so lost, because we were stripped of our identity, and whereas other immigrants that came to this country may have changed their name, they still know what their root name was. They still know what the original name was. But we don't know any of that. And it's like, it makes me so upset, because it's to lose your identity is a lot, Like, people tell me all the time, they're like, Africans will ask me if I'm African, and I'm like, no, I'm African American. Like, I'm black. Like, I'm not African. I feel so weird, because it's like, but you look so much like it. And I'm like, well, I'm 91% according to Ancestry DNA. But like, I don't feel African. I mean, I may look it, and I honestly never thought that I looked African until like from Africa proper, because I feel like you can tell who's from Africa and who's from America, until like I started getting on dating apps, and that's cool, but that's just not me. But if you are African, like, you know your last name. And just something that I wish that I knew, and that's one reason my brother changed his last name to a made-up name that he created, because he was like, I don't want to be a part of this. Like, I don't want to have a slave name. Like, every black person in this country, I'm pretty sure, unless they know they're like one generation from Africa, they have a European last name. And when you think about it, it's like a bigger thing, because in America right now we're like fighting for rights, and racism is so much more rampant. Well, not so much more, it's just more visible. And we want to like be our own selves, but like when you think about it, we still have slavery on us in so many ways, and our last name is one of them. Like, your name's Brown, Williams, Green, Washington. Like, there's so many names that showcase, what society in America has done to black people. And it's just hard to like deal with, like that really bothered me. that I could not have this cool ass story. Not that I couldn't have a cool story, but I didn't know. Like everyone knew, and I didn't know anything. And everyone was so excited to like hear my story. And that hurt too, because they didn't even think, you know, like it wasn't until I said, oh, slavery, that they were like, oh, you're right. Because when you're not affected by slavery, when you're not affected by racism, when you're not affected by segregation, you don't even think of what someone who is affected by those things has to deal with, even years later, that, you know, laws are supposed to be in place so that these things don't exist. And it's just like, I feel so sometimes lost, because, you know, I can go to Africa and be like, what's up, what's good, but like that's still not my culture, you know, like. And that's what they were saying, like people talk about how in England, Africans they're like one generation out of Africa, so they know their roots, and so it's a different vibe for them than African Americans here. Well, yeah, African Americans, because we're so removed from the African culture, so we feel like we don't fit in the African culture, and we clearly don't fit in the American culture. So it's like, where can we go? Because even with Caribbean blacks or Caribbean Africans, like they, I feel like, even have a stronger root to their culture than African Americans. Like we clearly, African Americans have a culture, but it's like not really as related to Africa as some other groupings in the world. So, you know, like being African American, you know, on a bigger scale, I wouldn't choose any other ethnicity, any other nationality or anything like that, because I think it's like, you know, such a beautiful thing to have like been brought to this country and gone through so much strife, but to still have made it and still be successful in a lot of ways and still persevere. Like we are probably one of the strongest groups out there. And it hurts, you know, to see that continued injustice against us for no reason. I mean, my thing is, you brought a group of people here that worked your land and did shit for you, but you continually treat them like shit. I just don't get it. I mean, the only thing that I could see why African Americans are still treated so badly, just black people in general, is because of jealousy. Like, why do you feel the need to shit on a whole population of people? I don't understand. Like, I feel nothing against any other ethnicity. Like, I don't feel like I'm better. I don't feel like I need to say something to make them feel bad about themselves. Like, I don't feel any of that. So like the fact that other people can feel this about other ethnicities, it drives me insane. And I know this is a bigger topic than what, you know, I don't have a last name is, but I feel like it's all interconnected. You know, I don't have a last name because of slavery. I don't have a last name because of segregation and racism, and it all, because all of that stems from slavery. And, you know, all of the, like, it just bothers me because America is still so young and slavery is not that long ago. Like, my mom picked cotton. My mom, when she grew up in the South, and she's only in her 60s. And so it's just like, we think it's so far removed, but it's not. And like, all America has to do to set the wrongs right is to apologize sincerely and move on. Not in the sense of like just forget, but like remember that slavery happened. Now remember that this country was built on that. But to move on in a sense of like, don't repeat the past. Don't be ignorant. Don't belittle a whole entire population because of your insecurity. That feels stupid to me. It just sucks, honestly, to see the things that are happening in this country, or even really around the world, that's every day, that people hate other people based off their skin color, which is a scientific adaptation. My skin color is brown because my people were in Africa and it was hot and sunny and bright as hell, and they needed to protect themselves from the fucking sun. So that is why I'm dark. If my people were up north, I wouldn't be dark because it was cold as fuck. And I didn't need dark skin. I needed light skin to absorb the sun and give vitamin D. Now, if people like were more educated to know these things, I think that the world would be a better place. But then education is still lacking in this country. I'm just venting because it just makes me upset, you know, seeing the injustices of this world. Because it doesn't have to be like this. Like, literally everything that we have created as humans is a social construct, and it's also stupid. Debt is stupid. We don't have to have debt. We don't have to have poverty. We don't have to have homelessness. We don't have to have anything negative, but we want it because we feel like, oh, I need to be up here. There needs to be people in the middle. There needs to be people below me so that I can feel some sort of power. That's the thing. People want power. They want money. They want greed. They're greedy. It's just, there's so much. Anyway, my camera's about to die. Well, not die, but the time's running out. So we'll continue this conversation in another video, but please like and subscribe and comment, and you know, if this moved you, let me know. And yeah, we can talk about this even more in another video. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.